I opened my bank app and saw my wedding fund drained to zero. My parents stole it to pay for my sister's dream wedding. That family betrayal should have broken me. Instead, it triggered the most calculated revenge story of my life, because while they were planning the ceremony, I was buying the venue. This isn't just family drama. This is revenge and justice, executed in silence. I stared at the zero balance in my savings account, realizing my parents had drained my entire wedding fund to pay for my sister's dream ceremony. They thought I would quietly accept their betrayal, but they didn't know I had just closed a deal to buy the very estate they planned to celebrate in. To understand why I didn't just scream or call the police immediately, you have to understand the Myers family dynamic. For 28 years, I, Abigail Myers, have been the reliable one, the background character, the emotional and financial safety net. My younger sister Chloe was the protagonist. She was the golden child, the fragile flower who needed constant watering, while I was the cactus they could stick in the corner and ignore until they needed something. I remember when I was 16, I worked 2 jobs over the summer to buy a used car. The day I brought it home, my father took the keys. He said Chloe needed it for cheerleading practice because the bust was beneath her. I never got that car back. When I graduated valedictorian, my mother missed the ceremony because Chloe had a breakup and needed support. I learned early on that the only way to survive was to build a life they couldn't touch. I moved out at 18. I put myself through college on scholarships and loans. I entered the cutthroat world of private equity and distressed asset management. I worked 80-hour weeks, climbed the corporate ladder, and built a portfolio that would make my status-obsessed parents weep with envy if they actually knew the extent of it. But I kept it hidden. To them, I was just Abigail who worked with numbers and lived in a decent apartment. I drove a modest car, I wore unbranded clothes. I let them believe I was doing okay, but not great. It was a defense mechanism. If they knew I had money, they would find a reason why Chloe deserved it. Then I met Mark. Mark is an architect, brilliant and kind, and the first person to put me first. When we got engaged, for the first time in my life, I wanted the spotlight. I wanted a wedding. I had been saving specifically for this since I started my first job. I had a high-yield savings account nicknamed The Future, containing $150,000. It was a joint account I had opened with my father when I was a minor. I had simply forgotten to remove his name from it because I never used it. I just deposited money into it. It was a clerical error on my part, a lapse in judgment born from the naive hope that my father wouldn't rob his own daughter. I was wrong. I discovered the theft 3 days after Chloe announced her engagement to a man she had known for 4 months. She wanted a spring wedding. She wanted the Blackwood Manor, a historic estate on the cliffs overlooking the ocean. It was the venue of the season, exclusively for the ultra-rich. When I saw the zero balance, my heart stopped. I felt a physical blow to my chest. I pulled up the transaction history, a wire transfer, initiated by my father. I called him, my hands shaking so hard I dropped the phone twice. He answered on the second ring, sounding tearful. "Abigail, we were just talking about you. Chloe is looking at floral arrangements." "Dad," I choked out, "where is my money?" There was a pause, a silence that stretched for an eternity. Then a sigh. "Abigail, don't be dramatic. We didn't steal it, we borrowed it." "You took $150,000, I said, my voice rising. "That was for my wedding, for my house." "You're not getting married yet, are you?" he said, his tone dismissive. "Chloe is getting married in 3 months. She found an opening at Blackwood Manor. You know how competitive that is. We needed the deposit and the full fee up front to secure the date. We'll pay you back." "You'll pay me back?" I laughed, a harsh, hysterical sound. "You have a second mortgage on your house, Dad. You have credit card debt. You can't pay me back." My mother picked up the extension. Abigail, stop being selfish. Your sister is finally happy. This is her dream. You've always been the strong one, the independent one. You can earn that money back in a year. Chloe needs this now. Why can't you just be happy for her for once? I am getting married next year, I screamed. Mark and I were looking at venues next week. Well, you'll just have to wait, my mother snapped. It wouldn't look right, two weddings so close together anyway. Let Chloe have her moment. You're making this about money, which is very unbecoming. They hung up on me. I sat on my kitchen floor and cried. I cried for the money, yes, but mostly I cried because after all these years, I was still nothing to them. I was just a resource to be harvested for Chloe. Mark found me there an hour later. When I told him, he wanted to drive over there and tear the doors off their hinges. He wanted to call the police. No, I said, wiping my face. A cold clarity was washing over me. If I call the police, it's a civil matter because his name was on the account. It will take years in court. By the time I get a judgment, the money will be spent on the wedding and they'll be bankrupt. I won't get a dime and they'll get their party. So we just let them win? Mark asked, furious. No, I stood up. I don't want the money back. I want everything. I went to work the next day with a singular focus. My parents mentioned Blackwood Manor. It was a legendary estate, but in my line of work, I knew things the public didn't. I knew the Blackwood family had been quietly liquidating assets. The patriarch had died, and the heirs were fighting. The estate was hemorrhaging money. It was listed as a pocket listing, off-market, available only to those in the know. My firm had been eyeing it for potential luxury condos, but I had a different idea. I liquidated my personal portfolio. I pulled favors. I leveraged my position as a senior partner. I formed a shell LLC, Nemesis Holdings, so my name wouldn't appear on any initial paperwork. I made an offer on Blackwood Manor, a cash offer contingent on a 30-day close. The heirs, desperate for cash and hating each other, accepted immediately. While the paperwork was being processed, I played the part of the defeated daughter. I stopped answering my parents' calls, which they interpreted as me sulking. They didn't care. They had the money. Chloe's Instagram became a shrine to her upcoming nuptials. So blessed to have parents who make dreams come true, she captioned a photo of the venue. Blackwood Manor, here we come. I watched, I waited. The closing date for my purchase of the estate was 2 weeks before their wedding date. During those weeks, my parents were spending my money like water. They hired a celebrity planner. They ordered imported orchids. They invited 300 of the city's elite, business partners my father was trying to impress, socialites my mother wanted to befriend. This wasn't just a wedding. It was a networking event to save their crumbling social status. They were banking on this wedding to re-establish themselves, using my stolen savings to do it. A week before the wedding, my mother finally texted me. I know you're upset, but you need to come. People will talk if you aren't there. Plus, we need you to help coordinate the vendors on the day of. Chloe is too stressed. The audacity was breathtaking. They stole my fortune and then wanted me to work as unpaid staff at the party they threw with the loot. I'll be there, I texted back. I wouldn't miss it for the world. The purchase closed on a Tuesday. I held the deed to Blackwood Manor. I was now the legal owner of the venue where my sister was set to be married that Saturday. I didn't say a word. I let them proceed to the rehearsal dinner. The rehearsal was on Friday evening. The sun was setting over the cliffs, casting a golden glow over the stone terrace. My parents were there, holding court with the early arrivals. Chloe was wearing a white cocktail dress that probably cost more than my car. I arrived with Mark. We drove my new car, a sleek black luxury sedan I had bought to celebrate the acquisition. We pulled right up to the front entrance, past the valet. My father saw us and frowned, marching over. Abigail, you can't park here. This is for the bridal party. Move your car to the guest lot down the hill. I stepped out, smoothing my blazer. Hello, Dad. Hello, Mom. Move the car, Abigail, my mother hissed, looking around to see if anyone was watching. And why are you wearing a suit? You're supposed to be dressed to help move gifts. I'm not here to move gifts, I said calmly. I'm here to inspect my property. My father laughed, a nervous, confused sound. What are you talking about? Have you been drinking? Actually, I said, raising my voice slightly so the gathering crowd could hear. I'm talking about the fact that as of Tuesday, the Blackwood Manor belongs to Nemesis Holdings, and I am the sole proprietor of Nemesis Holdings. The color drained from my father's face. That's impossible. We have a contract with the Blackwoods. You had a contract with the previous owners, I corrected. A contract for a rental. But when property changes hands, existing contracts are subject to review by the new owner, and I've reviewed yours. I pulled a folded document from my inside pocket. It seems you paid the deposit and fees using stolen funds, specifically funds embezzled from a custodial account belonging to Abigail Myers. Chloe stomped over, her face twisted in confusion. What is she doing? Mom, make her leave. She's ruining my vibe. I'm not leaving, Chloe, I said, turning to her. You are. Everyone is. You can't do this, my mother screeched. We paid $50,000 for this venue. You paid with my money, I snapped, my voice finally breaking its calm facade, echoing off the stone walls. You stole $150,000 from me. You thought I was just some passive bank account you could raid because you think I don't matter. You thought I would just cry about it and let you have your party. The guests were silent now. The wedding planner was frantically typing on her phone. I tried to be a daughter to you. I tried to be successful so you'd be proud, but you punished me for it. You took what I built to give it to the daughter who has never worked a day in her life. Well, I'm done being the shadow. I'm the owner now. We'll sue you, my father shouted, blustering to cover his terror. We have a contract. Read the fine print on the transfer of ownership, I said. I have the right to cancel any event that poses a liability or reputational risk to the estate, and frankly, hosting a wedding funded by grand larceny is a significant reputational risk. I signaled to the security team I had hired, off-duty police officers who had been waiting in the wings. They stepped forward. Mr. and Mrs. Myers, the head of security said, the owner has requested you vacate the premises immediately. This is insane, Chloe screamed, bursting into tears. My wedding is tomorrow. The guests are flying in. The flowers. The flowers are beautiful, I said. I'll keep them. Consider it a partial repayment for the interest you owe me. Abigail, please. My mother suddenly switched tactics, grabbing my arm. Her eyes were wide with panic. You can't do this to the family. Think of the scandal. Everyone we know is coming. If you cancel this, we're ruined. We'll be laughingstocks. You should have thought about that before you robbed me, I said, shaking her hand off. You wanted to show off to high society? Well, go ahead. Tell them why the wedding is canceled. Tell them you stole from one daughter to spoil the other, and the one you stole from bought the venue out from under you. I will destroy you, my father snarled, his face purple. You have no money, Dad, I said coldly. I ran a credit check on you during the acquisition due diligence. You're leveraged to the hilt. You have nothing to fight me with. Now get off my property before I have you arrested for trespassing. The security team escorted them to their cars. Chloe was wailing, her fiancé looking like he wanted the earth to swallow him whole. My parents looked small, defeated, and utterly humiliated. The best part? The guests saw it all. The inner circle they were trying to impress witnessed the eviction. By the next morning, the story wasn't just gossip, it was legend. The wedding did not happen. The fallout was catastrophic for them. My parents couldn't get refunds from the caterers or the band because the cancellation was last minute and due to their own conduct. They lost the $50,000 they paid to the previous owners because the contract was voided due to fraud, and the previous owners were already in bankruptcy court, so good luck getting that back. Word spread through their social circle like wildfire. The high society they worshipped doesn't like scandal, but they loathe financial instability. My parents were pariahs. No one wanted to do business with a man who stole from his own child. My father lost his partnership at his firm. Chloe's fiancé, realizing the wealthy family he was marrying into was actually a house of cards built on debt and theft, called off the engagement 2 months later. Chloe had to move back in with our parents into a much smaller house because they had to sell their home to cover their debts. As for me, I kept Blackwood Manor. I didn't turn it into condos. I kept it as a premier event venue. It's a gold mine. The story of the revenge purchase actually made the venue more famous. 6 months later, Mark and I got married there. We didn't invite my parents or Chloe. We stood on that cliff, overlooking the ocean, surrounded by people who actually loved us. I wore a dress I bought with the profits from the venue's first quarter. During the reception, I took a moment to stand on the balcony where I had confronted them. I looked at the bank app on my phone. The balance was healthy. The estate was mine. My life was mine. My mother tries to email me sometimes. She sends long, rambling messages about forgiveness and family duty, usually followed by a request for money because they are struggling with rent. I don't reply. I just forward the emails to a folder I named The Audit. I didn't just get my venue back. I exposed their lies to the world they so desperately wanted to impress. They wanted to buy a wedding with my money, but they forgot one crucial lesson of the business world. Never underestimate the person you're stealing from, especially if she's the one who knows how to balance the books. They bought a wedding. I built an empire, and every time I look at the deed to this estate, I know exactly what my silence was worth. Some might call me petty, some might say I went too far, but when I look at the photos of my parents being escorted off my property, I don't feel guilt. I feel balance. The ledger is finally closed.